Hey guys, it's here bringing you another video. Welcome to Patch Note Breakdown. So I'll be recording this now and uploading it as today's second video. If you appreciate that, throw a like on the video and let me know what you think of the patch down below. So we've got some big things in this patch. It's quite a big one, so I'll cover it as much as I can, but obviously I don't want to be here for a million years at the same time. But yeah, as you can first thing to say is they're basically just addressing some of like the big OP things. Fizz, for example. There's another big thing, so Vanguard, we'll be talking about that. So here is the overview. So yeah, quite a lot of stuff. So nerfs to Blitzcrank, Fizz, Jax, Rumble, Teemo. Buffs, a lot of buffs, to Ahri, Camille, Darius, Ezreal, Garen, Gragas. Hilariously, I've been playing some of these champions and they're feeling fine, namely Ahri and Gragas and Veigar. So these are just buffs for me, I guess. Gwen, Hwei, Alawi, Karma, Karthus, Twisted Fate, Shen, and Veigar. Adjustments to Briar and Nidalee, so maybe Lethality Briar might be the way out. System changes to Bloodsong, Bounties, Experimental, Hexplate, Frozen Heart, Horizon Focus, Phantom Dancer, Rift Maker, Steel Sigil, Storm Surge, surprise, surprise, Stride Breaker, and support items, namely the double support thing that some cheesy players have been doing is already going away. New things, we are having Smolder, the new AD carry, and a new, skins that are foreseen, which are foreseen Yasuo is obviously the old man Yasuo from the cinematic, and then Primal is the skin line. One thing I will touch upon very quickly, I know, I've caught like asks about it and stuff. Today, unfortunately, we got the big news that Riot has let go 11% of the staff. It sucks. The unfortunate thing in the tech industry, it seems really common at the moment. And if people are like, I don't know why, like, isn't gaming and tech doing really well? Ish. Tech and gaming had a boom during the lockdown years because everyone was at home and gaming, right? And they a lot of the time needed to hire more people in the lockdown years because it wasn't as, let's say, streamlined in an office. So they needed a couple more staff in each department to kind of make it still run the same in essence. And now that we're kind of through that, it's kind of two things. Is gaming has actually gone down a bit since the pandemic is not fully over, but over, because people are returned to work and everything, so people can't game as much. And secondly, they don't need the extra staff that they did when everyone was work from home because it's back to being streamlined in an office. So unfortunately, that's why it's very common, not just Riot, but it's, a lot of tech companies have had these big layoffs recently. And yeah, it does suck. The reason why I do bring it up is it's really harsh to me, but one of the people that has actually been let go is the lead designer on Smolder. So their champion is dropping tomorrow and they've got made redundant the day before. So I imagine when new champions drop and it's your champion, there may be a bit of a party. Maybe, at least you could order pizza in the office. Well, that ain't going to happen for Smolder. So that does feel a bit, yeah. But I know, everyone's going to have a different opinion about it. It sucks, and I really hope people will bounce back really quick. The only thing I could say is a positive about Riot, if you wanted to, because again, they're not the only tech companies had to do this. Their severance package and what the rioters who have been let go are getting is absolutely mental. Go read it if you want to, but luckily they're being very generous with that, and they're probably being generous, let's be honest, for good PR. But at least they're getting that, and hopefully, they're all getting minimum 6-month pay. They can all find a job hopefully within 6 months, but it sucks nonetheless. First thing is Vanguard. Hello. So in a few weeks, we'll be introducing Vanguard, Riot's proprietary anti-cheat software that will be required for all League of Legends and Teamfight Tactics. Starting patch 14.2, we will run a diagnostics check to see if your computer is ready for this update. If not, basically review. So in essence, Linux is not being supported. So if you run Linux, sorry. Again, I even saw a Riot, as someone asked in a Riot Q&A recently, like, what about us Linux users? And Riot's reply, in essence, was the percent that is Linux is so low that unfortunately that's going to just be, collateral damage from this coming. It's not a big enough number that they care. or they're worried about. I know some people are still obviously nervous about Vanguard. I've even, you know, when I made a video about it all, in those comments, people are like, oh, he must have been paid. No, like, firstly, if I have been paid, I have to disclose that by law. Secondly, I did a computer science degree. Like, I know that world, and it's just, people are just fear-mongering for the sake of it. Like, the whole, like, oh, we're being watched kind of thing. You're being watched anyway. Like, I'm not saying that Vanguard is going to watch you. I don't think it is. I really don't think anyone in the gaming space is going to be doing extra looking in areas that is not their game. One, the risk is simply too high. And two, it's a very harsh thing to say, but you don't matter. We all individually do not matter at all. And if you're really paranoid and you're so anti-Vanguard, if you're holding a smartphone in your pocket, you're a contradiction, because this thing is listening to you more than Vanguard will be doing on your PC. So just take that as best you can. But it's coming. Next thing is Windows Min spec update. So they will no longer be supporting Windows 7, 8, and 8.1 for League of Legends Teamfight Tactics. It potentially will still work, by the way, for a while until a big enough update kind of wipes it out. MMR and matchmaking. So reducing the amount of games of demotion to, protection from tier boundaries. So getting demoted from gold to silver or something like that. This should only affect people who seed/promote into the bottom of a rank tier, e.g. gold 4, and then lose many games in a row. It'll make no difference if you've been in that rank for a while, though. Fix the bug where a small number of Diamond 1 players would sometimes receive negative LP gains, losing more LP on losses than gaining wins. Unfortunately, while we cannot immediately resolve this issue for existing accounts, the problem will resolve itself with some games. I don't mean to be spoilery, but good news, that might affect me, if you can catch my drift. I'm a few days ahead in content, so you'll be seeing some more things soon. Fix the bug where players who would be seeded into Iron 4 were seeded into Iron 2 with negative LP gains. This is good, obviously. There's been some weird matchmaking things, and the only thing I would say, there was an example on Reddit the other day of a guy had a friend who was brand new to League, level 32 account, he leveled it himself, literally did his placement games, instantly got like platinum or something, got crushed every game. I think he won one placement game out of luck, his team carried him, and now he's just going like 0 and 20 every game because he's an iron player. He's like in gold/plat. Why are new accounts still that good? They are. Again, maybe Riot's trying to fix it, but damn. But I'm happy about this, I will say. Anyway, how they actually think 14.1 landed. So we've been pretty happy with how 14.1 landed in terms of bug stability and overall balance after the 14.1 hotfix. I'm not sure about the balance, I will say. Again, lethality still seems really OP. Obviously, especially AP melee champions seem really OP. This is the weird thing, in the things that we saw up above, they're nerfing AP melee and Storm Surge. They're not nerfing lethality. Again, Riot's always had a love for lethality, basically more than anything else. But, you know, and obviously, I'm playing lethality champs. I'm playing OP picks at the moment, and that's why I'm playing lethality champs, because they're crazy. Anyway, so game time is stable, objective balance looks good, and the trade-offs associated with playing towards top and bot sides seem to be reasonable, and snowballing is down. That said, we're well aware the amount of burst in the game is up, I think. Some of these burst increases are due to Storm Surge and Bloodsong releasing strong. You'll see nerfs on them this patch, and we'll be watching how they land. We also increased AP values across the board, as having 200 AP at 3 items was pretty unsatisfying for players, which is true. We wanted to see how these AP increases landed to help identify which champion AP ratios or base damages needed to be adjusted. We also want to reduce ability haste on items across the board, and naturally, this means more of an item's power budget is in burst. It doesn't have to be. Why don't you just nerf items across the board? Slow down the game, as people have been asking for a few years. We've been pursuing the burst reductions in 14.2 through a stat shard changes and targeted item/champion nerfs. Once we've done a comprehensive audit, sounds very professional, on which champions classes are bursting, which classes harder, and by how much, you'll expect to see additional changes in 14.3 and beyond. Our goal right now is to put burst levels back how they were last season, the end of last season. We hope you're enjoying. So I would say at the moment, obviously, AP melee champions are probably bursting the hardest, namely Fizz, Akali, stuff like that. Those are a bit above everything else. Then lethality, you know, they're if anything, I would put them roughly equal. I'd put them roughly equal to AP melee champions. And mages do have burst, but the problem with mages is they're just being undermined by how strong both AP melee and lethality assassins are again. A mage simply cannot survive in that situation, even though their damage might be okay. They cannot survive because they get countered by lethality assassins or AP champions like Fizz that can dodge all the damage of a mage and one-shot the mage at the same time. So mages might be strong, but they're not as strong as stuff in solo queue right now. All right, so this one I would say weirds me out. I don't know why they're doing this. So we've all been complaining damage is a bit too high. So what is Riot doing? Getting rid of armor and magic resist in stat shard runes in champ select. How's that gonna help? Like, with less resistances, right? That's gonna make us squishier, and that's gonna make damage better. Anyway, we're updating some stat shards in this patch in order to create more strategically compelling choices that aren't as punishing when improperly selected. Well, then that's your own fault for picking the wrong one. When choosing between armor and magic resist shards, it's generally clear which one is better. Am I laning against Zed or Lissandra? And that's fine. That's a skill in the game, and you sometimes have to take risks. Oh, I don't get it. And that's really where we are today. What's more, unorthodox lane opponents such as mages in bot lane tend to throw players off. Why is that a bad thing? Sometimes it does feel that Riot is balancing to the game, and I'm going to say something really harsh right now. Idiots. Like, what? Like, people need to think, and if they don't think and then complain, oh, I took the wrong thing because I wasn't thinking who I was against, that's the player's fault, right? What? Oh, God. This is where a lot of us old school players have moaned that Riot has made the game way too handholdy in the last few years. You know, it's even like, you know, all the timers on the map, that's hand-holding. Like, all of that stuff is just to hand-hold worse players. This is another one of those things, apparently. Oh, it's annoying. But anyway, we're replacing those less interesting decisions with more in-depth ones that are less likely to punish players incorrect. Again, I hate that that's the main reason that they're doing it. Incompetence of players is the main reason that Riot's doing this. It shouldn't be. That's a really lame reason for doing it. Now you'll be able to select or choose a non-damage and a non-durability option in the flex row and choose between early durability or late durability. So here we go. So the armor and magic resist are gone, and it's turning into move speed or health. So these, you can pick obviously one of these, obviously. And then row 3, so row 1 I guess is unchanged. Row 1 obviously was adaptive damage or force, which is like this: adaptive force, attack speed, or cooldown reduction. In essence, that's the same. The other two are changed. So yeah, no more armor, it's now 2% movement speed. No more magic resist, it's now health. Okay. And then the defensive one used to be health leveling. You instead could get base health. The armor is now 10% tenacity and slow resist. Everyone's going to take that. Like, Jesus, really? Like, who's not going to take that? And magic resist is turning into health. Yeah, I don't see a world that you don't really take that. The only world that I wouldn't take tenacity is, again, if I'm against a really rough lane in the early game, I might take that. Maybe. If I don't take that against a really rough lane phase, I'm taking that every game. Again, maybe some specific champions, like, you know, champions that do damage with health, like Vladimir or something like that, say, like, yeah, maybe Vladimir might take the bonus health, that makes sense. But that's really good. 10% tenacity, you're being CC less, and slow resist. Like, that's fantastic. So, I don't know. I'm not sure about that change. Due to many junglers losing armor on their first clears, we're increasing jungle heal per second slightly. Running flat health will provide plenty of early game safety, and scaling health will was already viable on a large number of them as well. So yeah, a little bit more healing because we're junglers are losing. I say I am kind of a jungler now, I guess. I'm jungle mid. We're losing the armor, so we're squishier. So there we go. Anyway, first thing, Smolder is coming. I think he's pretty good. Here we go. So again, before everyone says, when is he coming out? Sometimes the champion comes out right as the patch. No. Spitfire in bot lane starting the 31st of Jan. So even though this champion is going to be in this patch, he's coming out in a week of this patch. A whole week, apparently. Okay, a bit weird to delay him by a week, but sure. So save the questions, I guess. He's coming out in a week. That's going to be a very common question on my stream in the next week. Is when Smolder? When Smolder? I always get asked when's the new champion out. Ori. Ori is getting buffed. I've been playing Ori and I've got fed in a few games, so hey, nice. So Charm is going down by 2. Again, not the biggest buff, obviously. If anything, and I don't think I saw it, the biggest thing that Ori needs is a Luden's buff. Luden's is not very good at all at the moment. It's on the weaker side. If they buffed Luden's, that would help Ori a lot. But it's still nice to have a defensive tool more available. Blitzcrank, base armor decreased and E damage decreased. So Blitzy has been doing a little bit too well, pretty tanky, and even doing a decent amount of damage. So they're just toning him down across the board. This is now going to affect me. Briar's actually my most played champion this season. But again, and this is the thing, I'm just playing OP pick. So if this nerf turns her away from being OP, I'll just play something else that's OP. That's what I said to myself I'm at least doing in January to see how easy it makes climbing. Obviously, you guys are seeing the results right now. And if she's no longer OP, I'll swap to something else. I don't care. I'm being quite mercenary about it this year. So they're just saying Briar's lethality build has been too strong in recent months, while her Bruiser build has been struggling to keep up. That's just because lethality items are OP, by the way. Like, they're blaming the champion, but it's the items. But in this patch, we're bringing the two builds closer together by adding some health and on-hit synergy into her kit while reducing the power of lethality and crit. So they're trying to force it to be, go Blade the Ruined King and stuff again. But anyway, so healing amplification used to be 0.5 per 1% missing health. It's now 0.4. So basically less healing, but you can get the healing back of bonus health. So obviously you don't get bonus health if you build lethality items. You get that by building bruiser items. So that's one way they're trying to do it. The bleed tick rate is actually getting better. Yes, it is getting better. It's going from 1 second to 0.5. Why is that technically better, even though the damage and duration are unchanged? Because basically the quicker the ticks go off, the damage is being output, even though it's the same. If you're in a really close fight to somebody and you would kill them if you would die and they would die, let's say at the same time, which does happen occasionally, but the fact that the dot now ticks a half a second quicker each time, it could save Briar's life occasionally, because like the dot could kill the opponent in the half a second tick while you survive that little bit more. So that's actually a buff. Head rush, so Q now applies on hit effects and lifesteal, so they've nerfed it. They haven't nerfed any of it here. They've literally just added 60 AP ratio as well. Why? I don't know. And then defensive reductions, they have... Whoa! This is still a buff! It used to just be an armor reduction when you jump on someone and press Q on them. You're also reducing someone's magic resist. And the reason why they're doing that is obviously because this is now doing magic damage. Oh, the Q does magic damage now as an actual spell. It used to do physical damage. The spell of Q is now actually applying magic damage, not physical damage. Whoa. That's why it reduces magic resist. Weird. That's very weird. I still, again, so far, these aren't massive negatives to lethality, but we'll see with W, because that's kind of the main thing. Bite heal is going considerably down. yeah, it's considerably going down as a base stat, but again, it will heal 5% of Briar's maximum health. Again, if you're running full lethality, you don't get much health. If you're running Bruiser, you get a decent amount, so that's where they're trying to force the Bruiser a bit. But again, this isn't technically reducing lethality's damage much at all, if any. Like, it really isn't. So lethality is still going to be strong. And then less critical strikes. W no longer critically strikes for the bonus damage, but W can still critically strike like a basic attack for 100 total AD. So that's a bit of a nerf. But in essence, I think lethality Briar is still going to be strong. Whether it's OP, I don't know, but it's still going to be strong. Camille, one of the strugglers with the terrain changes in top lane. Her and Alawi have specifically both been affected. Don't get me wrong, Camille as a champion herself is still good, but it's more in top lane that think of both Alawi and Camille. What do? Camille jumps off walls and bounces on opponents, and Alawi obviously has her tentacle spawning on terrain. Well, they've opened up top lane, made it so much wider, so if you stand in the middle of top lane, and a Camille cannot ping to a wall to hit you, there's no tentacles in range of Alawi if you're standing in the middle of top. So they both have been hit somewhat. So her base health is going up considerably. That's a big buff, by the way. Cooldown of her passive, which obviously is a defensive cooldown, is being buffed, so she gets it more often in the early game. And her bonus movement speed is going up for her Q, again, helping her a little bit because she no longer can always rely on her E. So that's fine. Mr. Donkey. So again, haven't really seen a lot of Darius, if I'm honest, here or there. I've seen a couple, and like, I think one did good and one did bad. So his mana cost of Q is going down, so you can use it more often. His healing also is going up for his Q. And his apprehend passive armor penetration from just leveling up the spell is going up. So little Darius buffs, mainly for top lane. Fair enough. Mr. Ezreal, yeah, not really, you could say, a winner of so far season 2024 AD carry, because he doesn't build lethality. Like, unfortunately, that's the way of the meta, because Riot love lethality. So they're buffing him basically because of that, I would imagine. So the damage is staying the same as base, but he's getting 5% more AD in the Q, which again is nice. His Essence Flux is, whoa, that's a big buff. 40% more bonus AD scaling with your W, so that's nice. And obviously you have to hit the W, and then you have to proc the W for it to actually do anything. And then the True Shot Barrage, again, a actual damage buff to the base spell, and also a 20% bonus AD. That's a lot of big upgrades for Ezreal, to be honest. And they're basically saying a lot of his items that he used to build aren't great, so have some big buffs. So there we go. Fizz. Obviously, Fizz has definitely been broken recently. So, yeah. Q itself is being nerfed by 5% AP ratio. And the W, damage over time, is a 10% AP ratio nerf. Honestly, like, I've played a decent amount of Fizz. I've laned against a lot of Fizzes. That doesn't sound like enough to calm Fizz down. But we'll still see what Storm Surge nerf is, because maybe, you know, Storm Surge has definitely been a big factor of Fizz, but those aren't actually a crazy amount of nerfs. Not really. So, yeah. Garen, I'm going to be honest with everybody, and I know some people are going to be surprised, or not surprised, I don't know. I used Garen at the end, like, not even the end of last season. We took the Admiral Banter account from Diamond 4 to Diamond 1 in a week, and I used a lot of Garen, because he was so obnoxiously strong last year. What I'm about to say is, I actually liked that Garen sucked. I'm going to say it. Like, for such a basic champion, I hated how strong he was, because Garen doesn't outplay people. You know, it's Garen. Like, you never feel like you've been beaten by a Garen. He, by just default of just standing there, was just too strong, you know? I'm happy that split pushing has been nerfed, but it's still annoying. A lot of top laners just have it in their brain that's all they want to do, so they still do it. But I am happy that Garen is worse, but straight away, boom, they're back to buffing him. Ugh. So W, 30% damage reduction is now 4 seconds across all ranks, so technically a nerf in the early game. but a buff for later. And then your Judgment E, obviously a lot of people like the scaling with a attack speed and stuff. So the damage per spin is not changing. The based on level is not changing. What is changing is the early game AD ratio. So a bit better lane phase. It's unchanged at rank 5, still 40%, but it's a big buff. A 4% or 4 AD, 4% AD ratio more at rank 1. So there's that, I guess. But that's, again, what I like is they're not probably big enough buffs to make Garen obnoxious. But what they're basically saying is the damage and durability, they're trying to nudge him back to Conqueror away from basically phase rush squishy. And that's probably the way that Garen should be, you know? Gragas, I've been playing Gragas. He feels good. So Gragas was another big loser from 14.1. What? Has he? What? I've played, I think, 3 games of Gragas and I've been fed in 2 of them. He don't feel that bad to me. But anyway, armor growth is going up, health growth is going up, and his ultimate is going to be on less of a cooldown, starting at rank 1 by 20 seconds. Okay, I don't actually know why. Again, it must be stats. Again, Riot, the robots, just look at stats nowadays, and if Gragas' win rate is bad, that's why he must be getting a buff. He feels fine to me. Gwen, passive damage increased. What? I swear everyone in my Twitch chat, I have not played top lane so far this year, I will say. But the top laners in my community, and we have some high rating top laners, all think Gwen is crazy strong. And they're buffing her. Weird. Not sure about that one. But yeah, she's getting a better AP ratio, in essence, of target's maximum health. Hwei, man! So Hwei still has some problems. The weird thing with Hwei, and I will say this, I was expecting Hwei to really, like, in the new season. I wasn't expecting him to be good at the end of last season, because Hwei, you have to remember, is the first champion released designed with the new items in mind. They knew the new items were coming, and they designed a champion knowing what items are coming. So I thought, you know, he's got some really good synergies with some of them. I thought he was absolutely going to go nuts, but he isn't. But I also, again, I do have a theory that he probably is actually okay. And my theory still is you can't play Hwei into Fizz. You can't play Hwei into Akali. They will eat him alive with how strong they are and how immobile he is. It's still the base problem with a lot of mages is their immobility. And yes, they've changed mid lane and it's harder to gank. Great, fantastic, awesome. But you still have to lane in mid. And a lot of the time, a squishy... because obviously a lot of AP items no longer have health on them. A squishy, immobile mage simply cannot lane against what is currently strong in the game. A thing like Hwei cannot lane against Fizz. He will get one shot. Akali is the same. Even Katarina probably can one combo a Hwei pretty early into the game. And that's not even including lethality champions. That's just AP melees. That's more, I would say, the problem with Hwei than anything else. But anyway... so his E Torment is going on a lower cooldown and considerably in the early game. Nice. And then the EQ is Flea Duration is going up. So his EQ, which is quite a nice little fear, especially good for escapes and stuff. It used to be a 1 second fear. It's now scaling up to 1.5, starting at 1. So that's good. Alawi. So again, and the champion that I was mentioning. And here's the weird thing. So... oh, okay. I was about to say they're not changing anything about her tentacles and walls and stuff. The line you can see here, just but there, is we'll be looking at to adjust tentacle interactions from walls on a future patch. So that's not changing, but she's getting more mana growth and more health growth, and her healing upon tentacles hitting stuff is going up. So she is getting some nice buffs, and Riot have said we'll try and do some stuff in the future, but we can't commit to it now. I'm not surprised they can't commit to looking at it now, because at the moment they're still in a we need to balance the game as a broad spectrum, and when they feel the game is balanced as a broad spectrum is when they can go more in on individuals, and Alawi will be one of those individuals. Jax. So yeah, Jax very strong. Again, the thing with Jax, obviously, is he's always been a very good champion in League historically, but he's also very basic. So it's that kind of like Garen aspect of, you know, Jax isn't as basic as Garen, but you never really feel like a Jax has outplayed you if he's just auto-attacked you to death, or obviously the cheesy AP build that just randomly one-shots you and you're like, So, yeah. So they're just taking him down a peg is what Riot is saying. And again, it's the thing that I've complained about even in recent history. For a champion long known for his late game prowess, his early laning is too strong. Yeah, late game champions are too strong in the early game. Jax has definitely been one of the biggest offenders of that for a while. So the minimum damage of his E is moving down considerably. And also, it is no longer doing 4% of target's maximum health, it's doing 3.5. So, and again, maximum values are still 2 times this. And obviously, you get more damage with this spell if you're dodging auto attacks while you're spinning the weapon. So, minion auto attacks also count, by the way. So, there's that. So, it's nerfed a bit. And obviously, Counter-Strike is the main reason, probably, that he's actually pretty good in the early game. So, they're just toning it down. Maybe not enough, I will say, but yeah. Karma. So, again, they're buffing Karma. I've personally not played Karma, but we watched the... Did we watch a game, or was it in one of my games? I think it was in one of my games. We had a full AP Karma mid that was absolutely popping off. That was before a buff. They're buffing her Q by 20% ability power. And that Karma was absolutely stomping people, and she's getting a buff. Maybe look out for Karma, because Karma is a insert word. Health, though, is going up. Damage, again, flat damage is staying the same, but yeah, 20% more ability power, 70% ratio now. That's not bad. And her shield, again, is slightly going up by base compared to here, but it's more a 15% AP buff for her shield. Those are pretty nice. So they're basically saying, we want to buff support or mid-mage, but we do not want to resurface tank Karma again in top lane. Good. Karthus. Again, I played Karthus, as people may remember, my first game of Season 2024. I played Karthus, and I did pretty good, and he felt great. Another one of these champions that I don't really understand why they're getting buffed. Maybe I can just make champions work, apparently. So his damage on his Q is going up, so just helping more than anything, jungle clear, probably. And Wall of Pain, magic resist is going... the magic resist reduction was 15%. It's going to 25%. That's actually pretty good. Because if you combine, that's more damage for a Karthus when he lands W on people. That's more damage from any other of his teammates that also do magic damage. So you have to also think, that's not just a buff for Karthus, that's a buff for his team. So that's a nice buff. But fair enough. Rumble, I've heard, is incredibly strong right now, but weirdly, he's not really being banned much, a couple times. But even when he's not banned, I'm not seeing people play Rumble, and I've heard he's bonkers. So, yeah. So they're just saying Rumble is currently dealing a bit too much damage, so we need to reduce some of it. So his Q is going down base damage. And that's it. Yeah, just a little bit off the top of his Q. And then his E... But this is, I guess, where the link is. The magic resist reduction is going down. So the combination of items, flame spitter, his Q, and reduction magic resist of his E, it was just a too big package for Rumble doing too much damage. Mr. Shen. So Mr. Shen, I love. Obviously, I used to be a Shen, like you could even say main a few years ago. I love this champion. He's just kind of sucked in the split push meta. And some people may think, like, surely he should be okay in it. In theory, he should be, but not really. So, in split push meta, it's obviously a lot of strong 1v1 champions. Shen can be strong 1v1, but not as strong as other things. But basically, the split push meta completely negates Shen's need or want to use his ultimate. Because even when you're in like mid to late game, if Shen goes for an ultimate and saves on his teammates, and he's against a Trundle or a Sion top lane, they're still top lane, they're still split pushing, and boom, your tier 2 tower's gone. Just straight away. And, oh, you're going to do that again? Oh, now your inhib tower is gone. And the next time you do it, your inhibitor is gone. Every time he goes for an ultimate, he gets punished. It's not great. So they're buffing his attack damage though by 4. That will help, and obviously that more in lines helps just in general. But the more aggressive Shen play that some Shens go, obviously Ignite, Titanic, Hydra Rush. Well, that helps that, but not many people do that anymore because again, it's risky going that against a lot of top laners because again, it doesn't really matter if a Shen gets ahead. That's the problem. Is he will a lot of the time fall off in the 1v1, and when he goes helps, that top laner is just going to keep scaling when the Shen's gone on adventures. So it's where I just don't think in like split push meta. And hilariously again, Riot has nerfed split push, but it's the problem is it was such a default for so many top laners for such a long time. They're finding a hard time getting out of that default. They're just still doing it, a lot of them, even though it's not as good. Mr. Teemo, E damage decreased and R charge time increased. So yeah, Teemo obviously has had good synergy with some of the items like Malignance and stuff. So magic on hit is going down, 5% AP nerf, and his mushrooms are scaling less often. So again, it's a bit of a typo, but it used to be, I guess, 30 seconds, 25 seconds, 20 seconds. It's now 35, 30, 25. So 5 seconds on each rank extra. Twisted Fate, I'm not going to go through this crazy amount, but basically Twisted Fate is becoming, or can, AD carry, in essence. So if you're playing Twisted Fate anyway, and your whole team is AP, well, now you actually can build Twisted Fate AD, is the idea. Vanguard, base health increased, 30 more health, helps with laning, and again, it's what I've said earlier. An immobile mage, even like Veigar, simply cannot lane against AP melee champs or AD lethality champs. So they're just trying to help that with some health. Items. Oh, so in an attempt to simplify tooltips for players, we went a bit too far when it came to removing information and trackers. We agree with the player feedback we've been seeing about bringing them back. We still think there is value to improving tooltips, but we didn't hit our mark. So it's starting in 14.2. We'll be adding them back into the game. So some items used to obviously give you tracking what it's actually doing. Because Riot thinks the player base is idiots, apparently, they removed that because it was too much data for the players. They're adding them back. Because, yeah, why wouldn't the players want that? Bloodsong. Bloodsong has contributed pretty heavily to amount of bursts in the game at the moment, which is something we're aiming to correct here. We believe Spellblade is important for this item's feel, so we're nerfing the aspect. That's much harder for supports to appreciate. So exposed weakness increased damage. It was going from 12% melee, 8% range to 10% melee, 6% range. So just a nerf over the top. Hex plate builds out of Noon Quiver without actually having any on-hit damage. So we're moving it to build out of Heartbound Axe instead to make it more intuitive for players. So it's going to be costing a bit more, but it's getting more attack speed. More base attack speed, but less from the passive overdrive. Frozen Heart is becoming more expensive because it's a bit too cheap. Horizon Focus, they're making it more forgiving. So it used to be you had to hyper shot on focus range requirement. It had to be minimum 700 range. It's now minimum 600 range. And the focus AoE reveal radius is now 1400 units. So if you hit a target over now 600 range, it reveals a lot of people in the area. Small buff. Phantom Dancer, they're reverting it to the old build, so it's back to Zeal. Okay. Rift Maker's slightly more expensive. Steel Sigil, which obviously builds the GA, is becoming cheaper. So now it's 100% gold efficient, where before it wasn't. Storm Surge. Okay, what are you doing? Ability power is going down by 10. And the Squall damage, which is obviously the zap thing, that the base damage is staying the same. The AP, okay, so the melee AP, which are going to a lot of the problem, is being nerfed 10% ability power nerf for melee champions. And it's a 5% nerf for ranged. Oh, no, it's not. It's a 7.5% nerf for ranged. So technically a harsher nerf for melee, but still a nerf for ranged. Okay. It is a strong item, to be fair. We'll see if this is enough. Again, the combination, like, it's weird that Fizz obviously got hit, but Akali didn't get hit individually. So Akali still might be good. Evelyn didn't get hit. She might still be good. So, yeah. But it is a nerf, at least. Stride Breaker, attack speed's going up and it's becoming cheaper, so that's just making it a lot better. Support items, so this is the double support thing that was just stupid. Even one of my games today, slight spoilers for a video that'll be out in a few days. The enemy bot lane, I think, was Vayne Nautilus or something. Yeah, Vayne started the support item. What? By the way, it went very bad for them. Surprise. But yeah, we've seen double support items start to resurface the game warping strategy. So we're adjusting the gold income rules on all support items, which should effectively eliminate the viability of double up on support items and the gold they give. So new, one at a time, the gold penalty now applies globally to anyone who has a support item in their inventory. Additionally, every champion with a support item now contributes towards hitting the minion penalty. Yeah, that just completely annihilates double support item. Like, the weird thing now, you could actively troll your support. If you're a toxic player, you could buy a support item because then you'll be screwing your support over. That's kind of funny. Bounty adjustments. We made an adjustment to the bounty system which will further reduce individual bounties for those on the losing team. We're looking to improve an edge case where players on a losing team can get a seemingly undeserved bounty to accumulating a large amount of CS without dying. We also believe there's room to push this modifier further, as the team with more gold should already have plenty of opportunities on the map to progress their lead, and they don't need to secure as large a bounty on the champion that could just be the one and only hope for a losing team. Fair enough. Infernal Dragon, again. So yeah, the new infernal terrain mechanic isn't quite making the impact. It sucks. It's not fun. So again, the old Infernal used to tear walls apart, make the map burning. It's now a little fun mini game that you pick up cinders. I personally don't think this should realistically stay. I think they need to rethink it a bit. It's just a bit lackluster. Where Infernal Dragon used to be the most exciting dragon and the most exciting map change, it's now the most boring. So yeah. You're getting more ability haste per cinder now. You're actually getting double, but still. Gameplay quality improvements. In this patch, we have a long list of smaller one-off changes and minor balance adjustments with the goal to help some champions that need it. So, we don't believe that Kayn should be able to accelerate passive orb through runes. Aha, summon Aerie. So we've previously adjusted this for First Strike previously, and we're now doing the same for Aerie. So his passive no longer works as Summon Aerie. So basically, the Kayn players that used to abuse Summon Aerie to get double the amount of XP to a form, it was not really intended. Riot didn't like it. It is now gone. Cool. Rust R now heals even if the unit dies during the channel. Taraki now ghosts units during the cast. Whoa. That's good. Rammus will properly play his AA animation. Kled Q. So again, there's a lot of stuff here. So I would, at the very least, look if there's any champions here that you play. You should definitely read the ones for the champs you individually play. So like Fizz, I've been playing some Fizz. Fizz W now applies to structures at 50% damage. The dot does not apply to inhibitors though. So yeah, that's, I guess, is that less damage to structures? Did it not do it before? Maybe it's a buff. I don't know. So yeah, there's quite a lot of stuff there. So there's pretty cool. So there's that. A-run balance I don't really care about. Brand VFX. So Brand is getting some ability updates. Clash. I have spoken to the Clash team. We are going to be trying to play at least one of the days. So look for Clash content next week. So yeah, we're going to try and play at least one of the days. I think I think two of them only can make Sunday. So we'll probably just play Sunday. Practice tool updates. So button, you can now spawn void grubs and jungle monsters, create a spell shield on your target, copy your inventory to your target, cycle between various CC effects. So there's all that stuff. So that's pretty nice. So you can do more testing. Bug fixes and quality life change. Again, always look through that if there's a champion that you play. And there we go. The upcoming skins as well. So there we go. Pretty big patch. Overall, mainly good changes, and it goes to say, and I think part of it is it is somewhat of a mental adjustment. Like I was talking about this on stream today, and I don't know if it's making a video. It might have been part of the end of a game, maybe. The game is still crazy. There are still things that I don't love in the game. There are still some things that I don't agree with in the game. But I hope in the last few weeks, people have noticed that the content, I think, has gotten better. I'm climbing very fast. And it's in essence, what I kind of said to myself was, I can't affect the game. I can just play the game. You know, I can voice my opinions like I do, and I talk to rioters about my opinions, but in essence, it doesn't really matter what I think. It's not really going to change the game. So what I needed to do was just try to focus on having fun in the game we are given. And I think I'm doing that, and it's working. I think I'm having more fun. I'm getting fed a lot more. I'm climbing well. And it's because I've just had a slight attitude adjustment, and I timed the attitude adjustment. You know, it's weird to say I forced one, but I basically said, when the new season hits, fresh start, let's go. And that's what I did. And I overall think it's going really well. And if you guys agree, let me know, and like videos. Again, I cannot stress enough that liking videos and commenting, it really goes a long way. And I'm very pleased to say as well, like, historically, in the last few years, we've been losing subscribers. It is natural for a 10-year-old channel to lose subscribers anyway, but we've actually been gaining a few subscribers again, which is awesome. You know, I'm waking up nowadays and I'm like, oh, we gained 3 subscribers overnight. You know, that's pretty cool. But anyway, that's going to be it. If you guys are enjoying, throw a like on it, throw a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our glory to live forever. Bring down the dark regime.